can count on my two hands how many private consultations I had with Elijah Muhammad. Where's all this coming from? And I don't read no books. I am a book. He told me, you go and stand up, and Allah will speak through you. I'm not putting this out here for no vanity. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to say Malcolm X was tried by the circumstances within the mosque, by the envy, the enmity, the jealousy of his peers. And Elijah Muhammad directed the heat of that enmity and jealousy right toward Malcolm, to burn him in the searing flames of his brother's hatred. Because if he couldn't take it inside the mosque, then what would happen when the master teacher was no longer here and he's sitting in the seat with power over the people? How would he use that power? When people speak evil of you and you know in your heart that you are right and you got power in people that will do your bidding, that's the greatest test for your character. Because there are people in the ranks that would literally slaughter my enemies if I was that kind of man to direct them in that way. That's right. And that's a fact. I don't even have to say it loud. I just have to hint it and the person would be dead. But that's not my work, killing my people. No, I'm going to win them by doing exactly what that New Testament said. See that scripture that says love your enemies? It ain't talking about loving the Caucasian. He's a natural enemy. But black people, they're enemies out of their ignorance. If you don't love your people, even though they're enemies out of their ignorance, how will you find the methodology to remove the ignorance that made them your enemy, then turn them to be your friend? That's why the story of Joseph in the Quran is the most beautiful of all narratives, because Joseph was hated by his own brothers, but he maneuvered and won his brothers and then forgave them, and they worked and walked together. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, forgave his enemies when he conquered Mecca. We are so hateful and vindictive when anybody speaks evil of us or does things that we dislike. We dislike them, and if we had the right or power, we would move on them. You can't be in the mercy seat with that kind of spirit. Malcolm X, when he felt that Elijah Muhammad was envious of him, and through envy had set him down at the height of his career, his anger was kindled, and he turned against the man that made him what he was. Now, if a man would turn against a teacher that gave him the opportunity, the platform, and the wisdom to hold the platform, then you and I don't have a chance. And when Malcolm turned on Elijah Muhammad, he knew something of Elijah Muhammad's domestic life, meaning that Elijah Muhammad had wives other than his wife Clara Muhammad. And this comes as a shock to people. Why? Have you ever read the Bible that any prophet of God had one wife? Talk to me. No, let's talk. I just love God's prophets. I love them all. They just wonderful men. How many wives did Abraham have? He was the father of the righteous. If having wives make you less righteous, then how could Abraham have ever gotten to be the friend of God? Talk back to me. How many wives did Moses have? Come on. Well, you don't know, so go read. You so believing in the Bible. I believes in it, you say, from one cover to the next. You're a liar. When somebody quoted to you and you don't understand the passage, you start fighting immediately. What? Them prophets had more than one wife? Yeah. David was the prototype of the Messiah. How many did he have? Talk to me. So Spike asked me, wasn't it because Malcolm held Elijah Muhammad up on a pedestal? And when he found out that he had sex with his teenage secretaries, he was disillusioned? I said I could believe that if it were true. I said, you mean to tell me Malcolm got disillusioned because Elijah Muhammad had wives and some of them were teenagers, and then went to follow Prophet Muhammad, who had more wives and one of them was a pre-teenager? You mean he could follow a dead prophet who had wives that never did nothing for him? But he couldn't stand with a man who took him up out of the gutter and made him a giant in the earth because he had wives? No, brother. That's a weak argument. Malcolm went to Africa. He was in Ghana. He met many chiefs over there. And all the chiefs in Africa ain't got one wife, you know. And they're not limited like the Quran limits the Muslim. These chiefs may have many wives. He didn't find no problem meeting the chiefs, honoring the chiefs, sitting down, breaking bread with those chiefs that never did nothing for him, but he couldn't continue to walk with the chief that made him what he was. These are the sons of Elijah Muhammad. Come out, Ishmael. Come out, Rasul. No, come up front. They're just some of them. God is wise. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had 6 sons before any of these were born. But not one of those 6 carried on Elijah Muhammad's work. God saw all the way down, and he gave Elijah Muhammad wives from among the believing women. And from those believing women, he produced believing children. Are you saying that Sister Clara Muhammad was not a believing woman? To the best of my knowledge, she was one of the best of the believing women, if not the best. But sometimes you can produce children and they don't walk in the footsteps of your husband. God knew that. So here are young sons of Elijah Muhammad who at this point in their lives want to continue the work of their father. I'm very happy over that, because any father would want to see his sons get involved in his work. I'm a father. I have sons. I would wish that all my sons would get involved in this work. They benefit from it. They ought to help me in the work. I have 1 out of 4. The second one and the third one is on the way. I hope the 4th one is too. I would be a blessed man if all my children believed and helped me. But that doesn't always happen in the life of the prophets and in the life of the servants of God. Sometimes good men have the worst kind of children. Am I lying? I pray that the sons of Elijah Muhammad and the sons of Farrakhan, I'm talking about biological now, will stay in the path of their father and will work tirelessly, unceasingly, whether Farrakhan is living or dead, present or absent, to continue the work of the most noble man that ever walked among us. Yes, sir. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I'll tell you this, ain't nobody gonna come into no leadership here because they the son of Elijah or the son of Farrakhan. That's dead. I want you to hear me good. I'm gonna say it again. Well, what are they doing up there then? I'm putting them in a position to either fly or die. They'll never be able to say I didn't give them a chance. And if they blew it, they blew it. Canceled out. Ain't no blood thing here. Well, why is your daughter over the MGT and the GCC then? Sound like nepotism to me. Shut up. Where were you when my family was eating food out of the streets when we were poor and hungry? You weren't there. My family was. Where were you when the enemies firebombed my home when they were children to kill me and my children? You weren't there. You don't know nothing about eating beans day in and day out, year in and year out. Maybe you do. Look, you didn't start this movement or restart it. I'm not here because of you. You're here because of me. So if God blessed Mr. Ford to start the Ford Motor Company, Ford would be a fool not to make a place for his own children. It's my duty as a father to make a place for my children. And if they're not qualified, they won't be there. But leadership of the nation, that ain't no family thing. We all are the family. The most qualified among us don't have to come from the bloodline, because I did not come from no bloodline. I was like David out in the field. All the bloodline was busy looking for the money line. Don't tell me I know the history. You didn't work for your father. I did. I fed most of them with the money that I brought here to Chicago, back in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is no gift for me. I earned this. I earned this the hard way. I worked for it, sweat for it, suffered for it, to make a place for you. You don't have to accept the place, but hell, we won't miss you. Any one of these young men in here, older men, I'm telling you that the nation belongs to you. And the best among us who will study and work hard and say, I'm willing to undergo the hard trials necessary to establish the truth. Come on then, brother. I will lay the knowledge at your foot. You take it and run with it. And if you're the one, God will exalt you. Don't try to exalt yourself. Let God lift you up. And the whole nation will see your good works. And no one will be able to deny you because they happen to be blood. If they're not born of the Spirit as well as the blood, they won't make it here. Is it clear? I love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I love his children. And I see it as my duty to try to make a place for his children in the nation that he himself is the foundation of. But the children can't have no contrary ideas. Not in here with me. Let me make myself very clear. See, I'm not doing this for vanity. Don't sit around and be angry because everywhere you go, you see people say they love Farrakhan. I didn't go out here to produce that. I just did the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it produced it. You want the people to love you? Come help me do this work. No, if you don't want to help me, it's okay. If you think you can be successful outside of me, then I say, go ahead and try. I will not bother you. But I'll tell you, like the messenger told Malcolm, I have your key. And I have your key. Yep. And you'll see. Brother, I'm not boasting or nothing, because that's unworthy of any of us who want to be servants of God to be boasters. But he gave me the key. He, Elijah Muhammad, that's who I'm talking about. And evidently I must have it, because I'm opening doors. If you don't have no key, well, how are you going to get in? Just let me open the door and you go in. But you got to come in behind me. That shouldn't be a problem, should it? But it is. So I'm going to close now. My poor brother, Malcolm, is no longer among the living. I loved him so. But when he turned against the messenger, the love turned to hate. And that's the way it will be with all of us. When you love Elijah Muhammad, you will hate those who actively work to oppose him. You can't help yourself. And you know what? It'll happen in your own families. You become divided over me and what I represent. Just like the Jesus said, think not that I come to bring peace, nay, a sword. I come to put the mother-in-law at variance with the daughter-in-law, and the son-in-law at variance with the father-in-law, and they of a man's own household will be his worst enemies. See, when you put this kind of truth in a house, people will fall to one side or the other based upon how they relate to a person and personality in whom is the embodiment of the principle of that faith. We became divided because of how Malcolm began to relate to Elijah Muhammad. When he no longer related to Elijah Muhammad, we who loved Elijah Muhammad no longer related to him. And in that, bitterness, anger, hatred rose up. And the climate of murder was set up. Well, did members of the nation kill him? I don't know. I really don't know. But I can tell you this. There was no member of the nation who loved Elijah Muhammad that would not have killed Malcolm. I'll say that again. I'm going to say it again. The spirit of the whole nation was against Malcolm's life. We as a group did not do anything to him. But among every prophet's community, there's a group. There always was and there always will be. A group of zealots. They may be just a janitor in the mosque. Some simple, when I say simple, I'm not talking about mind, but I'm talking about a simple person that you don't think too much of. They may be a clerk, typist, or somebody who just runs errands, but their heart is full with the love of that prophet. And whenever the prophet is attacked, those persons will rise to kill the enemy. And they'll go right back to sweeping the mosque, Well, listen to me. And I told Mr. Lee, as it was then, so it is now. As it was then, so it is now. We love Elijah Muhammad. We know what he did for us. We know what he did for Malcolm, and we know what he is doing for tens and hundreds of thousands of others. And we just are not going to stand by and allow his name to be dragged in the mud when he has done so much for all of us. We're just not going to do it. I thank you all for your kind patience this afternoon. And I hope and pray that each of us will recognize that it takes hard trials to establish the truth. The last word I will read from the Quran. After Allah asks us to seek assistance through patience and prayer, he says, "Speak not of those who are slain in Allah's way as dead. Nay, they are alive, but you understand not." This verse of Quran is pointing out some of the trials that are going to be necessary to establish truth. Some of us may go to jail for the truth. Some of us may be killed for the truth. Some of us may be beaten for the truth. Some of us may lose things that we love for the sake of the truth. That's why we are told, seek assistance through patience and prayer. And Allah is saying that even if we are slain in the way of Allah, don't think that we are dead. Say, we are alive, but you perceive not. You know how beautiful that is? I wish I had time to explain how you can be physically dead and yet spiritually alive. Maybe there'll be another time. I would love to share that knowledge with you. That the righteous do not die. You just bury the house that they lived in. But the spirit of them, the mind of them, the wisdom, the vision of them, that's alive. And God at another time will raise a body. And that mind and vision of that great righteous one will come into that body. And that person will be living again. Only in another form. You didn't understand that, did you? How else could the scripture say, in that day God will pour out his spirit without number, and you'll see all the old prophets walking around. You'll see Abraham, you'll see Noah, you'll see Lot, you'll see Moses, you'll see David, you'll see Daniel, you'll see Joshua. Well, you ain't going to see the form that they lived in, but you'll see men and women with their same mind, their same strength, their same vision, walking now in a new body. They are not dead, but you perceive not. And we shall certainly try you with something of fear, hunger, loss of property, and lives and fruits. I told my son, if I'm killed for the sake of the truth, don't turn back on your heels. Go forward. I don't expect to be killed. I want to make that very clear. That's right. I don't think they got a gun big enough. Not as long as I know who Allah is and He is with me. Not unless it pleases Him. They can't do nothing to me. And I'll stay here and dare them to do it. Shoot. I said shoot. That is what I said. Take it any way you want to. But I said shoot. Don't be afraid, young brothers. Don't be afraid to accept the responsibility that's going to bring trials into your life. Don't be afraid. When you run from that, you run from the thing that will manifest you as a great man and a great woman. Don't run from that. Run to it. Maybe one day we'll be hungry. We won't be able to eat. White folk may not sell us any food. And if we don't have our own farm and growing food, we're in a little trouble. Have you learned how to fast? You ought to. Suppose he comes to take our property. You know they took our bank, they took our planes, they took our land, took everything we had before. We were tried with that loss, weren't we? Are we back where we were? And going to get it all back, and then some. No, that's the way of God. He'll try you, then he'll give you more than you had.
Every Thursday night the vibe is set. Brother Leo and Sister Claudia, you won't forget. They're bringing truth, they're bringing light. Tune in, let them spark your mind tonight. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. They talk that talk, they walk the walk. Breaking it down, no need for small talk. Wisdom flying like the eagle's soar. You leave with more than you came here for. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Soulful voices on the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made. On the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I want to greet you, my dear beloved brothers and sisters in the Imagination family. In the greeting words of peace, we say it in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Welcome, 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 dear beloved family, to another episode of the Imagination Show. My name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved wife and dear friend, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
And as always, welcome to another edition of the Image and Nation Show. And just as I'll just say from the beginning, more reminder, it's our last meal this evening. 3-day fast.
3-day fast,
Yeah.
the national fast. Every month, dear family, starting on the first Thursday of the month, and then we don't eat again until the following Sunday evening, and we have our single one meal a day on that particular day.
So make sure you have a good meal with your beans.
Praise be to Allah. And, to our dear friend, Any Right, my goodness, eating once every 7 days, that's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I'd like to see what you look like.
Yeah, you must be very slim. You must be really, because that's phenomenal. I mean, I've done 7-day fast, and I've done 14-day fast, and I've done 30-day fast, and I've done a 40-day fast. But to be consistent,
Yes,
eating one meal every 7 days, that would be absolutely awesome. And you would have tremendous longevity, inshallah, as long as you're obviously getting all your nutrients and everything from that single meal.
Yes, and I got a question. Do you have children? What are your children on if you have children?
Well, I wonder why you're asking that, because it's like when I've been fasting and I'm watching my children cook,
Yes,
and or eat, because they eat constantly and I can smell the food. Yeah, they do.
don't.
They do.
It may seem like it.
Yeah,
They don't. When you're fasting, you just recognize it.
You have to be able to deal with all
Yes.
of that in the household. When
Yes.
sometimes when I'm fasting, I mean, I'll cook. I can
Yes.
cook. I can cook for the family, and don't have to taste it as I go along or whatever, because I'm pretty good at measurements and stuff. But it's an interesting thought.
Okay.
I mean, inshallah, I want to get to that point, that stage in my life where I can have one meal every 3 days.
Yeah.
That's my destiny, inshallah. But I can't see one meal every 7, but certainly eating twice a week, that I believe that's doable. Inshallah, that's what I want to. That's my goal in life. Dear family, as always, I want to encourage you to call a friend, a relative, a loved one. Let them know that Imagination is live and direct right now on Zoom and also on YouTube. Also, family, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Imagination Show, because it does help the show to grow.
Yeah.
And also, brothers and sisters, we're always interested in where you are watching from. We've already had some communication in that direction, letting us know that we've got family from South Africa watching. We've got many of our regular viewers on the North American continent, and we just want to know where you are, because we want to reach out and touch different parts of the planet Earth.
And our brother Ishmael Sise.
From Sweden.
Yes.
Sweden, yeah. It's wonderful.
He's a regular.
It's wonderful to have so many people coming from so many diverse places tuning in to the Image and Nation Show. Dear family.
So hold on, sir. Any right, he's 135 pounds at the moment.
Wow. So the MGT, they are
120.
20 pounds. Yeah,
120.
135. That's a slim brother. That's beautiful, man. Yeah. Wonderful.
Oh, one child daughter. The food used to affect me in the beginning, but it faded 30 to 60 days in.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Praise be to Allah. Wonderful.
Yes.
Dear family, I really want to get into it this evening because we haven't got, much time and we want to just hit these salient points. And again, I always like to say to our family as we go through these shows that we it's not comprehensive. We want to touch certain things, and then we want you to go and do your research and do your studies and prove for yourself what we say is correct, right, and correct, that it's in line with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that, it's very good for us. Truth is a wonderful thing. It's a very powerful thing. And if we embrace it and if we try to walk it and live by it, then we cannot fail as a people. And regardless of what the enemy does, the enemy will always do what the enemy has to do until he's finally removed from our planet. So don't expect the enemy to give any quarter. Don't expect the enemy to, be beneficent and merciful. That's just not in the enemy's makeup. The enemy has to do what the enemy has to do. He's a liar. He's a murderer. He is a deceiver. All of these things are his characteristics. So don't expect anything different, dear family, from such an enemy. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had a little smile to myself. I did like Ronald Thompson's comment. Is having tea and biscuits and cereal considered cheating when it comes to fasting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't eat anything.
Yes.
Okay, no tea and biscuits. You've broken your fast. In fact, if you have any drink that's thick like milk or something, if you have milk, that's a meal. You've broken your fast. So the only thing that we're recommended to have when we are fasting is water or coffee without filling it up with a whole heap of cream and sugar. If you can drink it black, man, that would be beautiful. But water, coffee, tea, again, not adding things into it that make it into something different. And that's it, and you'd be surprised what you can do when you put your mind to it. It's truly awesome. And the benefits are tremendous, when you can embark on a fast. And when you get to the end of the fast and you realize, man, I've got control over my life. I'm in charge. My stomach is not in charge. My genitalia is not in charge of me. My Central Intelligence Agency, this head is in charge, because this is where Almighty God Allah resides, dear family.
And just very quickly, sorry to
No, go ahead.
I need to say assalamu alaikum to our nephew, son, Raid. He's always tuning in. So
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Well,
In the absence of his parents, that's our son.
yes, that's right. Welcome, dear brother. Always wonderful to see your name pop up in the list.
Everyone's name, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
the regulars.
Yes.
Jamila Burns, Haka, Daniel E. Mohammed.
Call them out, Sister Claudia.
Yes,
It's very
Ronald
important.
Thompson. Yes, wonderful. Stephen Brown. Praise be to Allah. Sister Daisy, Sister Celestine. Who else? Don't want to forget. Sister Beverly X. So praise be to Allah. If I haven't called your name, sorry. But it's just an honor and pleasure. Anyway, having everyone tune in, because you sort of think, oh, you don't want to take it for granted. It's a real honor and pleasure to have you join us every week. Inshallah.
That's right, beloved. Absolutely. I clicked on the wrong thing, but I can quickly sort that out. And here we are. So we're going to get into this week's episode, dear family. Welcome to episode 233 of the Imagination Show. Today, let me remove something from my screen. Today is Thursday, May the 7th, 2026. We're into the month of May, dear family, and a lot happens in this month, including the beautiful birth anniversary of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that falls on May the 11th. What are we going to be doing on May the 11th, beloved sister?
Working. That's what the minister wants us to serve the people when it's his birthday.
That's right. So on May the 11th, which is Saturday, we're going to what?
May the 11th is Monday.
Is it Monday?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Yes. Over the weekend,
We'll be
in preparation for May the 11th, we'll be feeding the community in the Ealing and Harlesden areas of London, where we will take a nice hot meal out to the people who need it and distribute it free of charge to anyone, who feels the need for a good meal.
That's right.
Their family.
So
There'll be some fruit
Yes.
with it. There'll be
Cake.
some cake, there'll be a bottle of water and so on and so forth. Because this is part of our charity and part of the good works that we try to do in order to alleviate some of our sins as a people. And it's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan desires for us to do, to really go out and help those persons, those people who may be a little less off than ourselves. So that's what we're going to be doing in
Yes.
celebration of the the birthday of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan coming up rapidly on Monday. And we're going to be doing that work over the weekend.
Saturday, inshallah.
Yes. Praise be to Allah. So, dear family, the title of our show today is Dear Africa, Hard Trials Are Necessary. Now, the lecture that we were just listening to a minute ago is called Hard Trials Are Necessary to Establish the Truth. And this is something that all of us must come to terms with, family. In order for you and I to be the truth, in order for you and I to live truth, it takes tremendous trial to be able to live a life like that. I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that in a world of lies, living truth is a very, very difficult thing to do. But just because it's difficult, it doesn't mean that we don't try. It doesn't mean that we give up on the idea of establishing the truth. No, hard trials are necessary to establish truth. And so, family, this is the message that we want to get across to our African brothers and sisters who are going through tremendous trials and difficulties. And we are blessed in the West, despite all of the trials and tribulations that we go through in North America, right here in the UK, and in other parts of the Western world. We are still very blessed because why? We have the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And to all intents and purposes, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done a number of world friendship tours where he's gone to all various African countries and has expounded these teachings to our brothers and sisters on the continent. But nevertheless, because the minister is not permanently in residence there, many hundreds of millions of people on the continent will not know anything about the teachings, will not know anything about the minister, especially in the manner in which media is controlled by a small clique of evil manipulators on our planet today. So make no mistake about it, this message is necessary for our brothers and sisters on the continent because many of the brothers and sisters on the continent today continue to suffer. And unfortunately, not just suffering from the enemy's hands, but oftentimes suffering from our own hands. And so, we have to share with them some of what Almighty God Allah has blessed us to receive, so that as they go forward, they know that they can overcome and that they will be the winners if they just appreciate that what they're going through is actually a necessary part of the growth and development that is necessary and that will take place on the African continent for their total and complete liberation. Dear family, three African states. I'm sure you all already know this. Three African states, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, under three African leaders, General Assimi Goita, General Abdul Rahim Tihani or Chihani. People say his surname differently. His middle name is very difficult to pronounce. Chiani and Captain Ibrahim Traore have decided to come together to form the Sahel Alliance to once and for all time free themselves from under colonial rule by France, other European parasites, and of course, big bad America. So, for the crime of wanting to be free, for the crime of wanting to be free, sovereign, and independent African states. They have come under relentless political, economic, and covert military attacks, with France and others paying and arming notorious terrorists and rebel groups to launch deadly attacks to try and reverse this progress towards African liberation. This is what's happening on the African continent as we speak, dear family. It is relentless. And the Western powers are behind it. France is behind it, and it's just, again, I think sometimes as a people, we are a little bit naive, because we don't understand the machinations of the enemy and how wicked he is. And we think, oh, slavery ended in 1833. And so, that's it, really. There's been a bit of racism or whatever, a bit of apartheid here, whatever. But generally, we're all free. We're all on the same level now, and everybody can just go forward and sing Kumbaya together. I mean, that's just so naive, family. The idea behind slavery has never changed. You see, the idea of white supremacy and black inferiority and the destruction of a whole people. When you hear President Trump talking about annihilating a whole civilization, where do you think that's coming from? And don't you appreciate that they've actually done that in the past, attempted to do that in the past, that they've actually done that? What do you think happened to the Native Americans? What do you think happened to the Aboriginal people in Australasia? I mean, family, we really must appreciate that, this is very, very wicked behavior from a group of people who have never apologized for their behavior historically, and they've never changed. They are their fathers. They are their ancestors, only now in a more modern and sophisticated form and guise. And many of us are fooled by that, thinking that, we're dealing with a whole different set of people who have changed so dramatically. No, you don't understand, family. I'm sorry to say this, but I have to tell you the truth, because that level of naivety is what gets us into trouble. And in fact, that level of naivety is what can allow so many of us to take information from our open enemy and then use that information, use that miseducation, use that propaganda to attack our own people. See, most of the problems that we have as Black people today, whether it's on the continent of Africa, whether it's, here in Europe, in the West, most of it stems from our own selves. It stems from our own people putting our foot in our own way, putting our foot in our own mouth. This is the reality of what's going on. These wonderful, and listen to my language, I'm saying these wonderful, beautiful brothers have developed this magnificent idea of African unity, man. And so many of the so-called African leaders today are diametrically opposed to that concept and that idea. That concept and that idea that was championed by Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, championed by Abdul Nasser of Egypt, championed by Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. And see, all of them basically destroyed in terms of their message, in terms of what it was that they were trying to achieve, in terms of what it was that they were promoting, in terms of the unification of the African continent, the United States of Africa. If there was a United States of Africa tomorrow, Africa would be transformed. Africa would be the most powerful continent on the planet without nuclear weapons. You wouldn't need nuclear weapons when you understand how we are the repository of all of the mineral wealth that this world needs in order for it to keep moving forward. That's the power of Africa, you see. But again, we have so many of our people today who have been brainwashed into thinking that Black people are inferior, and you got lots of Black people who think like that.
That's right.
You see, and in that thinking, we don't fear our own people. We fear white people, and in our fear of white people, we kowtow to them, we bow down to them, we submit to them, we take instructions from them, and we will go and destroy our own people on behalf of them. It's disgusting, man. Makes me sick to my stomach when I see some of the behavior that some of us engage in. And so hard trials are what all of us are going to have to learn to endure, and not run away from the hard trials, but in fact, run to the hard trial, because it's running to it that would allow us to be able to, one, endure it, and two, overcome it. But when we run away, like when you run away from a dog, it'll bite you up, man. That hard trial will destroy you, family, if you are trying to run away from it. Now, according to news reports coming out of Africa just recently, in Mali, the Malian authorities are investigating soldiers suspected of involvement in last week's coordinated attacks on army bases across the country by militants linked to Al-Qaeda. You know, when they say linked to, now these are Al-Qaeda. This is Al-Qaeda. This is the terrorist group that you hear and have been hearing about, you know, in the West, how they've been responsible for this terroristic atrocity and this attack here and that attack there, whatever. But again, understand, family, they're in the employ of Western so-called democracies, okay? And these are the militant groups and these separatist groups, Tuareg rebels. A judicial official in Mali said the list of potential accomplices, because they've arrested some people, the list of potential accomplices includes 3 active duty soldiers, a retired soldier, and a soldier who had been dismissed. See, again, just think about, you know, this soldier was dismissed. So again, sometimes we get dismissed. If you go back to Malcolm X, he was set down by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because an infraction had taken place. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had given an instruction. Nobody is to say anything about the shooting of the President Kennedy. And Malcolm chose to ignore that instruction, that warning, and said, you know, chickens coming home to roost or whatever. So then he was sat down. He was disciplined because in the Nation of Islam, it's a military structured organization where when you break the rules, there are penalties for that. But you see, this soldier was dismissed. And oftentimes, you see, when you're sat down or you're dismissed, you get disgruntled. Now you're angry and you want some type of revenge against the people who sat you down, the people who dismissed you. Come on, man. We you know, what's the study guide that we're studying right now, Sister Claudia? It's study guide 18. rising above emotion into the thinking of God. I do encourage all of you, and I mean, I've said it a number of times on here, and we haven't really taken it forward or acted upon it, but I do want to be able to invite as many of you who want to attend Study Guide as possible. I need you to make an indication in the chat if you would be interested in joining us to study on a Friday evening between the hours of, is it 7:30? 7:30 and 9 o'clock, online, where you can come and join and study, because I'm telling you, family, this study is so critically important. I'll tell you how important it is for those of us in the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that if you are not on Study Guide, you are not with him. That's how important it is. You see, because there is so much guidance, beautiful guidance that's given within the study material that he has produced for us, for humanity, to guide us into such understanding as rising above emotion into the thinking of God. Just because you're dismissed, it doesn't mean that you can't rectify that situation and be reinstated. But if you get disgruntled to the point now where you become so angry that you're now going to go and join the enemy, you're now going to go to the white man and start talking about your leader, teacher, and guide, the man who took you from a prison cell, took you from the gutter, and gave you an opportunity to become a national spokesman and to speak to the entire planet. Man, come on, think about these things, family. And so this soldier who had been dismissed, and then he was killed in fighting near the country's main army base in Kati, 15 kilometers outside the capital, Bamako, said the statement from the prosecutor at the military tribunal in Bamako, which was read on state television late on Friday. I'm going to carry on reading some more from those news reports in a second. This is the brother here. This is our brother, the current leader in Mali, Assimi Goita. And, he is with our brothers in Niger and in Burkina Faso. And he's a soldier, and he's trying to stand strong against these enemies who are the former colonial masters, the former enslavers of Africans, and trying to become independent. But in attempting to do that, they are having to fight insurgencies within their borders. They're having to fight against sanctions. They're having to fight against economic warfare. They're having to fight against political chicanery within their ranks. And so, family, hard trials are necessary to establish the truth. Did you have anything, Sister Claudia?
No, well, just to say, when you read that and you hear that hard trials are necessary to establish the truth, but when it affects you personally, you think, oh gosh, why am I going through this? But you have to remember what the Holy Quran says. Hard trials are necessary to establish the truth. We will go through pain. It's the way we've been raised that we don't think we should go through hard trials.
Yeah.
Because that's our building block to bring out the God in self when we go through these trials. It's a necessary part of growth.
Yes.
To go through these trials.
Yeah, it's not what we think. As Sister Claudia said, it's like we've been mollycoddled into thinking that life is supposed to be a bed of roses, but it's not, family. It's not meant to be this little skipping through the tulips type of life. The reason why things are necessarily hard is because it's those things that bring out the best in us. You see, it's like when you go to the gym, you can't go to the gym once a year. If you're going to go to the gym, you have to go consistently, you see, and repetitiously. And then when you're in the gym, what you do is it's reps. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's repetition. Repetition, you see? And that's what first of all, it breaks down the muscle fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're sort of doing some harm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when the muscle fiber breaks down, then the brain sends a signal to that area that's been weakened or damaged to say, build more fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the muscle becomes strong. Family, it's a principle in
Mm-hmm.
life, it's a law, you see, that in order for us to be successful, you have to overcome difficulty.
Right.
You see, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that everything worthwhile doing comes with a difficulty factor attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just easy, chances are, it's not worth doing, you see? But if it's something that's going to be a challenge,
That's right.
that you have to employ your brain, you have to employ some measurement, you have to employ some judgment, you have to employ maybe some strength, some character. We were talking about fasting earlier on. I mean, there are tremendous benefits from fasting. But what's the problem? The problem is that most of us don't want any type of deprivation. We don't want to go without a meal. So then we can never achieve those wonderful things. We say we like football in England and Europe. It's called soccer. In America, of course, it's American football where mostly they handle the ball. But the point is that, those players, they have to be fit. They have to be healthy. Very rarely you're going to see a really fat football player or anything like that. But that means that they have to sacrifice. They have to have diets that restrict their intake. You see, we say we love boxing. I love boxing. Okay, but those boxers, man, in order to make weight, what they have to do, the things that they have to go through. I always remember Chris Eubanks Sr. said that on occasion to make that middleweight limit, and later on he became super middleweight, but to make those limits, he would sometimes have to literally starve himself for at least, not fast, he didn't use the term fast, but starve himself for at least 7 days sometimes during that several week camp, in order to drop a certain amount of weight in order to prepare. But then because of that, he would be weakened in the ring. And I noticed with him, he was quite a lazy fighter. He would only do as much as he needed to do to win, but he was never, the most energetic person in the ring, but he was a great fighter.
Yes.
And
that's what we have to do as individuals. We have to be broken down to be rebuilt back to how we're supposed to be, and we have to constantly call on the God, because we can't do it by ourselves. He wants us to recognize his power. If we don't have the power, but with him, he works through us. And this is why life is a sacrifice. Our whole life, once you're born and you recognize the truth, you have to make sacrifices. Your whole life is a sacrifice, because it's not your will, it's his will. And that's what you have to come to terms with, that you may not want to wake up at 3:30 a.m. to do Fajr prayer.
That's the time at the moment.
You may not want to do that, but you're trying to die for him to live in you. So you have to make that sacrifice. You may want to stay healthy, or you may not want to stay healthy. But if you do want to stay healthy, you do have to eat a particular way.
That's right, beloved.
You have to sacrifice. So everything in life, once you are born on this planet Earth, it's a sacrifice. And this is what we've not been taught by this world, but the minister is teaching us everything is a sacrifice.
That's right. That's right. This world, its educational system is not worth a damn.
No.
I'm telling you straight up. I know some of you have been into these colleges and universities, and you may have even got your degree and whatever, and you feel so proud. And here's this uneducated black man with a bald head telling you that it's not worth a damn. Why is it not worth a damn? Because if it's not teaching you a knowledge of self, if it's not teaching you a knowledge of God and your relationship to God, it's not worth a damn, family. I'm telling you straight. It's important for us in the diaspora and all our African brothers and sisters on the continent to realize that Africa will never be allowed to go free without a long struggle, tremendous struggle, and many hard trials. It's not going to be given to you. Somehow you think that, the enemy is going to relinquish his grip. He's going to relinquish his hold. I remember a few years ago, myself and some other activists, we were blessed to be talking at the ambassadorial level with some of our Zimbabwean brothers and sisters, and we were at the Zimbabwean embassy in London. And I just had to explain to the Zimbabwean ambassador, my dear brother, with the enemy, he lets go of your leg. He's holding your leg with both hands. He lets go with the right hand, but as soon as you think he's let go, then he grabs your another part of the leg with his left hand. He never lets go. How did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put it? He said that these people are the skunk of the planet Earth. What does that mean? It is broken down and explained to us that the skunk is an animal, that black and white creature, that has a really, really strong, bad smell that accompanies it wherever it goes.
Stench.
And then after the skunk has left a particular place, the stench remains. Well, the European colonizer is exactly the same. Wherever he's been on the planet, even though he may have physically got on a boat or got on a plane and left the area, he leaves his system in place. He leaves his stench there. That's why you can go to some of these African countries and find the Africans dressing in their courtrooms, dressing in the robes and the wigs like they do here in London in the Old Bailey, because that's part of his stench. That's part of his system. When you read the constitutions of many of these African nations, they were written by French people or English people or other people from other colonizing states. And so nothing changes. You have some African now who goes and sits in that seat that the former colonial master used to occupy, and he just carries out the same bidding of that same colonial master now by remote control. Dear family, the news report that I was reading earlier on continues. It says the first arrest have been successfully carried out, and all other perpetrators, co-perpetrators, and accomplices are actively being sought, said the statement, without specifying how many suspects had been identified and who specifically had been taken into custody. So right now in Mali, they're rounding up people who they believe was involved in this plot, because this is a very, very severe attack that just took place a matter of days ago in Mali, where they estimate there could have been as many as 10,000 insurgents. And so when you got that level of attack taking place against a sovereign nation and a sovereign country, understand, family, that that's not some localized uprising. That's finance from abroad. That's a big thing, because the alliance of Sahel states has to be destroyed from the perspective of the West. You see, because they're not getting free uranium anymore. They're not getting free diamonds anymore. They're not getting free gold anymore. They're not getting free oil anymore from those particular countries. Those things now, if you want those things from those countries, you're going to have to pay at the market rate, you see? And this is what the West cannot abide. They cannot stand the fact that these people have decided to wrest back their country and their resources from that type of disgusting, unprincipled, illegal, unlawful control. And so, family, this is what's happening right now on our African continent. And all of us should be concerned about it. And if necessary, we have to do something about it. as a people. We can't just sit and pretend, because this is our motherland and these are our people. And we must recognize, just like the enemy is able to recognize these people wherever they're found on the planet, we need to be that kind of people now, where we can empathize and sympathize with our people wherever they're found on planet Earth. Dear family, the news report continues. The simultaneous attacks beginning on the morning of the 25th of April showed how fighters from different groups with different goals were able to strike at the heart of the West African country's military government. Different groups with different goals. Let me tell you, all these rebel groups and all these Al Qaeda and all of these other terroristic organizations, see, they're like they're mercenaries. They're killers for hire, and the West pays them, and they coalesce together, and then they will go and do the bidding of the Western powers, of the West African country's military government, which took power after coups in 2020 and 2021. The defense minister was killed. The defense minister of Mali was killed. It seemed like he was deliberately targeted on that particular occasion. And uh, and Russian forces back in the government, because the Malian government have got alliance with Russia. Russia has come in to help, because where France was there before, and some of these American bases were in all of these West African nations, not, everything was just chaos when it came to terrorism and insurgency. Yet the French were there saying that they were there to fight terrorists. They weren't fighting no terrorism. They were actually keeping the terroristic apparatus functioning and bubbling, while they were restricting the Malian, the Nigerian, and the Burkina Faso military from having any kind of effectiveness against the terrorists. Because the whole idea is, if you can keep the region unstable with terrorist attacks taking place all the time, and terrorists actually within the borders of the country, literally setting up military bases and training camps, and I mean, like, terrorists run major parts of the country, then you can take the resources out, because the locals are just so distracted. There's no stability. People can't relax and build and grow and develop. You see, so that's what was happening. And ever since these countries have thrown out the French, thrown out the Americans, thrown out these foreigners, now they're looking at some of these NGOs and telling them, you got to leave. You know, these non-governmental organizations, which are spying groups, spying organizations in their countries, and so many other entities that they have to deal with, that were planted there with the intention of basically undermining and destabilizing these countries. Now that they have kick them out, all of a sudden you see these countries making tremendous progress. These countries able to and fighting back against the terrorists, but of course the enemy doesn't give up, and so he's plowing money into these mercenaries and these terroristic organizations for them to go on the offensive, go on the attack against the Sahel states. Dear family, the defense minister was killed, and Russian forces back in the government were forced out of a northern town of Kidal. You know, imagine they're taking over towns. You see, military leader Assimi Goita said in a televised address on Tuesday that the situation was under control, and vowed to neutralize the insurgent groups behind the attacks. The Al Qaeda linked, they use this Al Qaeda linked, the Al Qaeda linked insurgents have called on Malians to rise up against the military led government and transition to Sharia law, in a rare French language statement. In a rare French language statement. So these terrorists normally communicate in Arabic, but all of a sudden they're using French language to communicate, because, of course, part of the stench that's been left behind in West Africa is the French language, which became the principal language of the people. You see, that's what they do. And, you know, all of this, dear family, has to be broken up and destroyed and removed, because as long as this stench remains, as long as that is what we're operating on, we can never truly transition into a free and sovereign state as a people on the African continent. I hope everybody is doing well. All I'm going to do now is just play a number of different videos, just showing you some of the things taking place on our beloved African continent.
When I joined politics, these positions that I have came as a result of my participation. I am not in politics to be elected. I'm in politics to articulate a position of African people who have been oppressed for too long. We are not saying any Zimbabwean, Nigerian, Ghanaian must bring crime here. The same way no South African must bring crime here. Anyone who brings drugs, South African or Nigerian, must be dealt with according to the laws of South Africa.
You see what Julius Malema is saying, how important it is for the people of South Africa, the Black South Africans, to understand that the rule of law must be upheld, and that as a people, whether we are, foreign coming into South Africa or South Africans, everybody must be treated to the same standard. But I don't know if you know what's happening, but what's happening now in South Africa, you've got many Black South Africans now who are attacking Nigerians, attacking Zimbabweans, attacking other Black Africans who are in their country trying to find some meager living, trying to get work or whatever, and they're physically attacking them and beating them up, maiming them, and trying to tell them to get out of their country because they're taking their jobs. Listen, family, this is so sick. And this is what the enemy does every single time, and we fall for it every single time, where we don't understand that the enemy controls all of our wealth and all of our resources in the countries, and they've got us eating some crumbs that are falling off of their table, and then they get us now to go and fight one another, fight Black people who look just like us, like they're the enemy. And Julius Malema is one of the few African leaders, the leader of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters in South Africa, who has been running for office and trying to wrest the political power away from the ANC and these other groups, from these other political parties. And many South Africans reject him because they believe, one, what the media tells them about him, and two, he's too Black and he's too strong. You see? And they want this weak politics that has been imported from the West, this so-called democracy in South Africa that leaves 80% of the land in the hands of 8% of white people. That's the number of them that's in South Africa. 8% they constitute, and they've got over 80% of the land. And then you have 80% of the people, the Black people, they own 4% of the land. I mean, it's sick. And we have the audacity to turn around and go to war against our own Black brothers and sisters. Black brothers and sisters, by the way, who, when South Africa was under the apartheid regime, many of these countries were the ones who took in dissidents from South Africa, took in rebel fighters from South Africa and helped them and trained them and allowed them to go back in order to fight the apartheid regime. Many of these African countries supported South Africa against the apartheid regime and stood in solidarity with South Africa. But now many, I'm not going to say all because it's not all, many Black South Africans today turning their backs on their own kith and kin, their own black brothers and sisters from other African nations. How the hell can we ever have a United States of Africa when you got that kind of sick mentality? They call it xenophobia. It's not xenophobia, it's Afrophobia. This is Africans self-hating, hating your own black brothers and sisters to the point where you will now go and attack them. You won't attack the real enemy. You won't deal with them, but you will attack your own black brothers and sisters to throw them out of the country. And I'm telling you, man, that is so ridiculously stupid. As if somehow that's going to elevate you. I mean, family, please listen to Julius Malema.
Not justice. So you must stop it before it comes to you. Remember, Rabba Limpopo were even too dark. They are just going to look at us and say,
I'm not sure of the actual story that he's telling here, but basically I pick up on the sentiment, which is that there was something or someone or some entity or some incident where somebody was too dark in South Africa. And what he's warning is that, you know, that's where we're going to go. If we're going to allow this, where we're going to attack other black Africans from other African countries, then remember, he's saying, remember that there was some incident or something that happened where some black people were too black. Because that's the next stage we're going to get to. When they're finished with the so-called foreigners, then it's going to be, oh, this African is too black. Or this African speaks with the wrong accent. Or this African, I mean, honestly, you know, if we don't understand the slippery slope that we as people are on the continent, when we start attacking black people for just trying to live, for just trying to get a decent job.
Well, now we don't even have to ask you anything. I coupe. Before it comes to us, let's stop it there and say, let's deal with illegal immigration through the laws of this country. The Minister of Home Affairs is a DA minister, but they never match the Minister of Home Affairs, who is responsible for illegal immigrants. Why? They are scared of white people.
Listen.
Look at them. When they speak to a white person, they are very respectful. They show manners. When they speak to a black person, they are violent. When is that march going to Cape Town? Because a lot of illegal immigrants, white immigrants, are in Cape Town. Let's see them going to Cape Town and asking whites to produce their IDs. The same way here in Northwest, a lot of whites say they own land. If you ask them to produce a title deed, they don't have. They gave each other the land early 90s when they saw that democracy was coming. So many white people are here in South Africa, illegal labor. They must be treated the same way we treat others. But they are even worse. They've got our land. You remain landless. You are fighting over useless things. They are distracting you so that you focus on each other while they are stealing our minerals, while they are stealing our land. Fukataki. This is the time you must be more awake.
This is how it works, family. They keep the people fighting each other, a distraction, a tactic, while they just keep stealing all the minerals. South Africa is full of diamonds. And companies like De-Beers and these, I mean, man, they just wax rich. There's so much mineral resources in the soil of Africa, and they're just taking it out under the nose of the ANC, under the nose of these so-called African leaders who sign deals that are so ridiculous in favor of their former colonizers. the former persecutors of black Africans. And no wonder these white people just continue to take liberties. When you got those kind of lackeys, when you got black people who are so terrified of them, so scared of white people that they just bow and kowtow and just act like chimpanzees, it's horrible, man. It's horrible. You see, and then you get a man like Julius Malema come along, and the man is strong. You see, and he's not playing. He's talking about taking back land without paying any compensation. And why should you? It's their land that was stolen in the first place. But when they have a man like that now, they're so cowardly, some of these people, that they won't vote for him. They won't vote for him. And understand this. See, whenever, and you know, because you all, so many of us, we watch the mainstream news, and we read these rags that they call newspapers. Not the Final Call. You don't read the Final Call, but you read these rags, Daily Mail and Daily Express and the Sun and all these nasty lying rags, and we believe what we read in these things, man. And we don't understand, family, that so much of what we glean from these papers and these news reports is just fabrication, it's just lies. And Julius Malema, you know, they write all kinds of slander against this man, and black people, so many black people just suck it up, and they will literally vote against this brother and not choose this brother who would come in with a view to transforming that country and transforming the condition of black people in particular in that country. But understand this, you see, the democracy, the voting system, I'm telling you, family, you think that, oh, rigging elections takes place in South America, in Venezuela, and these places, and you know, it's just on the black governments that rigged elections. Stop it. The elections in America have been rigged for years. That's what Trump is talking about when he talks about they were rigged in 2020. Okay, the Democrats, Biden, and they rigged it. And Trump right now is getting ready to rig the next one. That's how they work. They rig everything. Everything is dishonest. Right. Understand this. When Bush Jr. came to power, they were calling him the man who stole the presidency until 9/11 took place. And then all of a sudden, America united, and they forgot about that. But they had to go to court to try to ascertain who had actually won that presidency. I think it was Bush, and what was the other one? I can't remember who the other one's name was. But the point is, family, they're rigging elections all the time. The elections are rigged, you see? And they rig them here in the UK. They rig them in all European capitals. It's a rigged system. You're there like, oh, it's some South American banana republic where they rig elections. No, man, these are the past masters at rigging elections to turn out the way in which they want the election to turn out, to put in office who they want to put in office. Why do you think it's just one class of people all the time, always being elected to the same office, to the leadership, to the presidency, to the prime ministership? Why? You think that's because they're so highly educated and they're so superior? No, it isn't. You listen to these people talk, you realize that these people are dumb. Exactly. These people are dumb, but there's big money behind it. Because you got, as they always say in this world, you got to follow the money, and then you know who's really in charge, who's really in control. I mean, family, let's listen to some more of our brother, Julius Malema.
They're distracting you. They say foreigners have taken jobs from you. Go for them. You go there. They take everything. That's what they did during apartheid. When we were supposed to get our freedom, they started a fight between ANC and IFP. Instead of concentrating on fighting for freedom, we got distracted and killed each other.
Right.
Who took the weapons to KZN? It was apartheid soldiers. Bought lot of ammunition, took it to KZN. That's why till today, there are a lot of illegal guns in KZN. Those guns...
Have you ever wondered why these people can point to these African nations saying how poor they are, and you see the people ragged, naked, out of doors, can hardly make ends meet, can hardly get a clean drink of water. But then when you look at these rebels and these fighters, they've got all of these sophisticated weapons. Where did these weapons come from? You think they manufacture them in their garage or in their backyard? No, family, they are imported from the West and given to them to go to war and kill each other, man. That's how it works.
Sorry, our
Go
brother
ahead.
Papa is asking, is this a recent lecture?
From Julius Malema? Yeah, if you look at his T-shirt, 2026. Very recent and very up to date, family, this particular talk and lecture from our brother, because there's a crisis in South Africa.
It says 1st of May, 2026.
Yeah, there's a crisis in South Africa where, so many South Africans are now attacking these Black Africans. And Julius Malema, he's been dealing with it. He's been talking about this for many, many years and months, in truth, telling Africans in South Africa that all Africans are family, all Africans are our brothers and sisters. And he said, you will never get me to go and fight my Black brothers and sisters from another African countries. He said, even if it means I'm going to lose votes, you can keep your vote. He loves Black people too much to go down that stupid, foolish road that the enemy has paved for us. You see? This is just the latest pronouncement from Julius Malema on the subject.
Were delivered by the apartheid government, arming blacks to fight one another. Today, they don't give you guns. They put in your mind wrong ideas for you to hate each other, concentrate on one another, while they continue to benefit the minerals of our world. We need to focus, comrades, not because I killed anyone. They want to take me to jail for 5 years because they don't want me. Why? Why?
A white woman, a judge, recently convicted him for firing a gun at a rally. When you fire one bullet into the air, for firing a gun at a rally, I think 5 or 6 years ago, whatever. The case has been going on forever. And they found Julius Malema guilty, and they want to sentence him. He's been sentenced to 5 years in prison. You see these people? Imagine Black South Africa, because that's what it is.
Yes.
With 8% white people who are controlling everything, controlling all the resources, controlling all the wealth. Then you got a white judge sentencing this Black man who's the leader of a political party and a political movement, a grassroots movement, sentencing him to 5 years in prison. I mean, just if it wasn't so serious, you just have to laugh out loud, because it's pathetic that we would allow this to take place. You see, that's the thing, that we stand by and allow this type of stench to remain among us, whereby these people are so audacious that they will plot and scheme and rig things in such a way that, this is the leader of a movement. South Africa has got guns everywhere. I don't think they said that the gun was illegal or anything like that. I think it was somebody else's gun and they fired a gun into the air. Nobody was injured. Nobody was hurt. But you think that you can bring that from all those years ago just to find an excuse to try and take this man off the scene. But listen to what Julius Malema says about the proposed 5 years in prison, because I love what his sentiment.
Do they want to take me away? They want to take me away because they are scared of the truth. They don't want the truth. I will talk the truth here. I'll talk the truth in jail. I'll talk the truth in my grave. No one can ever kill my ideas. My ideas are out there. No one can ever arrest my ideas. My ideas are out there. No white woman can determine my destination. I've got an appointment with the future, and that future is the revolution to liberate the children of Africa. You must not be scared, comrades. You must never allow them to use.
You know, he said to liberate the children of Africa. He didn't say the children of South Africa. See, because these brothers, the way they think of for the whole. They're thinking for the whole of Africa, not just for some corner of Africa, but the whole of Africa. And that's the only, any genuine and real leader has to be thinking like that. Has to be thinking like that, family.
To intimidate you. No one must use my name to intimidate you. Continue to fight for the truth. Continue to tell the truth. Do not be shaken by my sentencing, because that's what they want. They want you to be shaken. I'm not shaken. If I was not married with children, I was not going to appeal it. I was going to go there and come back. But as a responsible family man, I might be strong. My wife might not be strong. My children might not be strong. And my jail can destroy them. For them, I shall appeal it until I get my freedom, so that my family is in a better position. Fighters.
Did you understand that, family? Man's willing to go to jail. The only reason he's even appealing the sentence is because of his wife and children. But if he has to go, he's ready to go. And that's how all of us have got to have that mentality. If the enemy can scare you with jail or scare you with death or any of that, man, he's already won. If we are fearful, this is not a day for cowards. This is not a day for, thinking about, oh, what if the enemy does this and what if the enemy does that? The enemy is going to do what he has to do. We've got to do what we've got to do.
The system is against us. We need to rise now. We need to take over power and change the system. The only way you can do that is to make sure that in your VT, there is a VT coordinator who registers the voters, because you cannot win election without your own voters.
You cannot win the election without your own voters. And he's right, but at the same time, I'm saying, family, understand that this system of elections, so-called democracy, is completely rigged. So they better make sure they got millions and millions and millions of Africans who can absolutely break that system when it comes to their ability to cheat. You see, and they got to have proper monitors and people who are going to scrutinize every single aspect of that voting machine, that voting apparatus, because these people are absolutely demonic. Now, look at this picture, family. You would think that you're looking at some English gathering, some nice English village or town, or some little hamlet in America, or some European place. You'd be sorely mistaken.
Afrikaners are descendants of Dutch settlers who arrived at the Cape of Good Hope on a boat in the year 1652.
Section 235 of the South African Constitution acknowledges the right of cultural groups to self-determination. But what about the Afrikaner enclave of Oranje, which also uses...
See, just think about that constitution. See what's been written in there. You think that was written by a black person? No, family. That was written by the Caucasian for this precise eventuality. I want you to think about what's been said here and listen again.
At the Cape of Good Hope in the year 1652.
Section 235 of the South African Constitution acknowledges the right of cultural groups to self-determination. But what about the Afrikaner enclave of Oranje, which also uses race to determine who can be allowed to live in that community?
Would you agree with me if I say that this man performed a lot of atrocities in the past?
It's our history.
But I know it's your history, but at the end of the day, a lot of people were harmed in the process. You don't think if you are embracing this, you're definitely embracing apartheid?
Is it okay to celebrate Shaka Zulu leader? Do you know who that is?
I know who Shaka Zulu is.
He killed a lot of people. Is it fine to celebrate him?
Are you listening, family? So here you've got an enclave in South Africa, a whole kind of village or town, which they intend to expand into a city, which then I can assure you they'll then be expanding into territory and regions. But this is a white only in South Africa. And you see the statues that they've got of all their past apartheid leaders or whatever. I mean, see, only among black people could this kind of nonsense take place, where these people are just blatantly saying, listen, we intend to carry on our racism and our apartheid system in your land. But why shouldn't they, when you consider that 8% of them control 80% of the land? And we, you know, you don't see no black people going there talking about, you lot need to get out, you lot need to do this, you lot. We don't see no black people beating them up. You remember Trump the other day talking about the white genocide taking place so it looked like a genocide to me taking place there. White people look pretty comfortable to me there. I remember I was in Zimbabwe and I went to a gated community, which the ZANU-PF person who was escorting us and driving us around in the country, ZANU-PF, meaning he was a part of the Mugabe government. And when we got to the gate, the man had trouble getting us in. The way they were scrutinizing him and looking at him and, you know, basically questioning him about, well, whether he can gain access to this place. And when we eventually gained access to this gated community and we went in there, oh my goodness. The vast majority of the houses in there and the grounds, everything, white people with a few blacks here and there who are these upper middle class blacks who have been allowed to associate with these white people. And the way these people were living, I said, my God, compared to the rest of what I could see in Zimbabwe, it was disgusting. I think people are just living in pure luxury. Manicured lawns and sprinklers and green tiled roofs and white houses and just long drives. And this is under Mugabe, by the way. The man that they were saying was this wicked man who was taking the land and, you know, ostracizing white people or whatever. These are white people were living large when I visited Zimbabwe under Mugabe. And the country was under sanctions because he dared to take back a few parcels of land for the disenfranchised black people. I mean, I'm saying, family, if we're not prepared to struggle and understand the trials that are ahead of us, and that nobody's going to give us anything, and this world ain't going to give us anything, and the white man certainly is not going to give us anything. Anytime you see this white man coming and he's got gifts and he's know that there's a trick in it, okay? Know for sure he's not coming to give us nothing. Everything, we're going to have to take it for ourselves. We're going to have to do for self or suffer the consequences. And the consequences is being poor, raggedy, naked, out of doors, while other people live large in your land, in your place. I really hope we're listening, because it's diabolical what's going on the African continent.
People need to forget about the question of democracy.
Listen.
And that is a task. We must tell them the truth. Democracy is not for us. The democracy that those people show us, that doesn't interest us. We don't even want that. Normally, if you talk about democracy to an African, the one who comes to talk to you about democracy, you should run away. Democracy kills. Is that democracy? Is that what we want? Democracy is slavery. There is no democracy in this world. They do it when they want, and to establish it, they kill. The democracy that kills, we do not want democracy. May God protect us from that democracy. We are focused on our reconquest, on our rebuilding, and on reunification.
These are confirmed facts from P.O.W.E.R.
Just got to apologize for the dubbing, the translation. It's all a bit all over the place, but I'm pretty sure that you're able to hear what our beloved brother Ibrahim Traore is saying. You know, see, this is a leader, man. This is a beautiful leader that God has raised on the continent for the African people. But will they embrace him? Will they support him? Will they protect him? You see, because the enemy wants him dead. The enemy wants to reverse his revolution in Burkina Faso and in the Sahel states. That's why Mali is currently under attack. They attack at the point where they think the country is, the alliance is weakest. See? They won't attack necessarily directly Burkina Faso, even though the insurgencies are on the borders there as well, and they continue to make incursions. But the point is that they want the whole of this revolutionary movement for change stopped in its tracks. And they're fighting tooth and nail to make that happen. But our brother, you know, you got to listen to this brother, because this brother is so intelligent when it comes to the reality of what's going on and what needs to be done in order to counter. That's why he comes like the way he comes. He comes as a military man. He comes as a highly disciplined individual, and he comes as a man who is ready to fight if necessary. That's what Bob Marley said. We Africans will fight if we find it necessary. Hard trials are necessary for the establishment of truth. When necessity demands it, family, we have to step up. We have to step up.
We must tell them the truth. Democracy is not for us. The democracy that those people show us, that doesn't interest us. We don't even want that. Normally, if you talk about democracy to an African, the one who comes to talk to you about democracy, you should run
a mile.
Democracy kills. Is that democracy? Is that what we want? Democracy is slavery. There is no democracy in this world. They do it when they want, and to establish it, they kill. The democracy that kills, we do not want democracy. May God protect us from that democracy. We are focused on our reconquest, on our rebuilding, and on reunification.
These are confirmed facts from Traore's own words and official decrees. At the same time, Western governments and some human rights reports have raised serious allegations about civilian casualties in the ongoing fight against insurgents.
Now listen to the plot. And the plot never changes. They were going into Libya to protect the Libyan people against Muammar Gaddafi. They were going into Syria to protect the Syrian people against Assad. And we can go on and on. Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. When are we going to wake up, man? And these are the democracies. And then when they leave, those countries are absolutely destroyed, and they become basket cases on the planet, only for them to steal the natural resources out of the soil and take it back to the West to enrich themselves and to keep their economies bubbling over and floating on top of the world while these nations are left in ruins. Think about it, family.
Claiming thousands affected in recent years.
So we have some major breaking news. The president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, has been accused of unaliving 1,255 civilians inside Burkina Faso.
See the headline? Ibrahim Traore to be jailed for unaliving civilians. This is how they do it. These are blatant lies, fabrications, but even the way our little African brother is reporting it, you know, kind of breathless and no, family. You got to understand what you're dealing with here. Ibrahim Traore is not a murderer of his own people. He's a liberator of African people. But you see, the enemy will turn everything upside down and inside out. And then those of us who don't study, what did the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say about those of us who won't study?
That we're a traitor.
We're a traitor. We're an enemy to our nation when we won't study. Because any old crap that the enemy slings at our leadership, we just swallow it, man. We just swallow it. See? Oh, the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X. Shut your mouth. It's been proven now 100% that the Nation of Islam had nothing to do with the murder of Malcolm X, and that it was the police in New York and the CIA and all of those devils were behind it. But how many of us swallowed that hook, line, and sinker and walked around with it for years? The nation, the nation. No, the nation didn't kill Malcolm, but you hear what the minister said earlier. In our minds, yeah, we want to kill him for betraying the nation, but we never touched him because the messenger said, leave him alone. We're military, we follow orders. Understand this. My God. Listen to this, little brother.
According to this article that has just been posted by the AP News, I want to quote, the government forces in Burkina Faso killed over twice as many civilians as militant jihadist groups over the 2-year period, according to the study done by Human Rights Watch. Many Western medias, according to the AP.
Human Rights Watch, another one of these non-governmental organizations, one of these NGOs that are all over Africa. According to them, Ibrahim Traore and his military have killed twice as many civilians as the jihadists, as the insurgents, as the Al-Qaeda terroristic groups. So basically, the terrorists are better than, you know, they're much more humane. See these devils, brothers and sisters? When are we going to wake up and understand the kind of slop that we are fed on a daily basis?
News and also BBC are saying that the president of Burkina Faso has committed one of the largest war crimes against humans, and now he has to be investigated and he has to be jailed if he is found guilty. According to them, they are saying that the jihadists in Burkina Faso only unalived 567 civilians, while the president of Burkina Faso's army unalived 1,255 civilians.
What matters is that this shift has exposed the deeper fault lines. The West's panic that its favorite tool of control is being dismantled in the Sahel.
Family, yesterday at the P.O.W.E.R Palace in Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore had a roundtable interview with journalists from local and international media where he had to expatiate on a lot of topics, and I decided to bring a few to you here. So he touched on many points. He talked about the fact that Burkina Faso has adopted a new model to training their military personnel. Why? Because he discovered when he came to power, and what he has been observing in Africa is that almost every...
He's decided that they're going to adopt a new model. Do you know what that new model is? They're going to train their own soldiers. They're not going to let French people come and train black African soldiers or Americans come and train black African soldiers. No, these Africans are going to train themselves. They're going to prepare their own military. They're going to source their own weapons. They're not going to rely on the former colonial masters who are only going to give them inferior training and inferior weapons that they can't fight nobody with other than to go and kill each other. I mean, man, this brother is just breaking down some of the things that Ibrahim Traore said in that roundtable interview that he did recently.
Every country send their military personnel to be trained out there. And sometimes they train them with respect to their realities and not with respect to ours. And he even went as far as asking a question. The first military that was trained on earth, was it God who deployed angels from heaven to come down and teach them how to do combat? Or they had to train them with respect to the challenges that they were having back then. So that is the spirit on which he is basing to also embark on Burkina-based military training with respect to the challenges they have, the kind of asymmetric warfare they are facing and all of that. He also touched on the Black Winter that he talked about way back in December. And he said, with the way some heads of states in Africa are going, especially neighboring countries around West Africa, it may be probable that we would end up going through Black Winter. He also touched the aspect of democracy. He was asked a question about the fact that all political parties now have been completely banished and there is nothing again like democracy, and they are embarking on this new journey. He said again and reiterated that democracy kills. He made mention of the situation in Libya, how Libya used to live, a very beautiful life, but when they came with their so-called democracy, and Libya is become what it is today, and many other countries.
Libya had the highest standard of living on the African continent. Look at the state of Libya today, after they brought democracy, at the point of a gun and on the bombs.
We know. He also talked of the fact that look around us, right? You will not find any country, right, that got developed through democracy. That thing they call democracy is being imposed on us so that they can control us way better. He was also asked a question about the situation of the former president, Colonel Paul Sandaogo Damiba. He said the situation of Damiba is way horrible.
Damiba, the one who was the former president who Ibrahim Traore overthrew, and then he, in exile, has been the part of the plot to try to kill Ibrahim Traore, and part of the plot, again, this disgruntled, because he's now been dismissed, part of the plot to try to overthrow the government in Burkina Faso. And what this brother is breaking down, what Ibrahim Traore said, is that the plot is so thick and so conspiratorial with the types of groups that are involved and countries that are involved that it's almost unbelievable. You wouldn't believe some of the people who are part of this plot to bring down the Sahel region. You see, but this is what this brother is explaining here, family.
It's been imposed on us so that they can control us way better. He was also asked a question about the situation of the former president, Colonel Paul Sandaogo Damiba. He said the situation of Damiba is way horrible than we thought. Of course, we know that he was extradited back to Burkina Faso, and he said he has been going through a lot of interrogation. And what has been revealed so far, the kind of names, the countries, some countries that Burkina Faso did not even believe could be mentioned in such a situation has been mentioned, and that it's such a complicated matter, and they are still going through a series of interrogations to get a complete, plot that was being cooked against them. He was asked the question about Bazoum, what the EU did the other time. He was decrying the fact that look at what's happening. Bazoum does not belong to the European Union and all of that. And
Bazoum is the former president of Niger, I believe, and he's been removed from power by, our brother who controls that country now. And the European Union, they're all getting involved, that he should be released. What the hell has it got to do with you? You're Europe. This is Africa.
Exactly.
But what it shows you is the connection. Shows you who is his political masters and who was controlling him all along. You see, this is what our brother is breaking down here, how they're trying to get involved in the situation, demanding that this man be released from house arrest, where he's confined at the present time, having been overthrown.
The fact that they keep interfering in Africans' affairs, and that is the reason why the AES had to cut ties with ECOWAS, because ECOWAS was literally under the control of the EU, and the
ECOWAS, the West African Organization, under the control of the EU. I mean, think about it, man. So you got Nigeria and all of these countries who were immediately talking about attacking Niger when the coup took place and the brothers took over the country, because the country was being controlled from France. But all of a sudden, these people in these other countries in ECOWAS was talking about attacking Niger to bring it back under the control of France. Because ECOWAS is controlled from the European Union. My God. Family, do we understand how pathetic some of this African leadership is and why they must go?
EU as well is totally controlled by the EU. He decried all of that and said, look at what's going on. We allow these people to come in and interfere in our internal affairs as they like. And that's the reason why they are thinking that they can cross over and come to the AES. So he made it again very clear. Bazoum is not a member of the EU. He's not a citizen of the EU. And the EU has no reason whatever to interfere in African stuffs, most especially Niger and the AES. He also touched the aspect of terrorism, and there he said that most of these kids who are recruited, they actually, format their brains using religion, and they tell them that if you do this, you're gonna have a place in heaven, blah blah blah, and that most of the times, whenever they ransack the camps of those terrorists, when they are neutralized, they would find a Quranic Bible, something of that sort. And he said they are going to undertake a very serious sittings with imams and other religious leaders to make them teach their followers the right thing that the different books are talking about. And that is going to be under strict and serious controls, right? Because some of these so-called religious leaders, they recruit innocent young men and women and pump their brains with a lot of diabolical ideas, and then give them arms to go out there unalive and waste innocent souls. And to them, they think they are doing something to some god, The journalist also asked him that he had escaped about 100 assassination attempts, and he said it was way more, right? And that most often those.
So the journalists are asking him about 100 assassination attempts against him. This is Ibrahim Traore, Captain Ibrahim Traore, okay? And he's saying there's been way more than that. With Fidel Castro in Cuba, he had over 300 assassination attempts from America. So that they even used the mafia. They tried to give him exploding cigars. They tried to poison his food. I mean, these people are sick, man. Sick. And they want you to believe that they're the good guys, going around the world assassinating and killing leaders that they don't like or that they disagree with. Listen to the way they just talk about, how they just killed the Ayatollah in Iran like it's no big deal. Killing his granddaughter and other members of his family at the same time. No big deal. That's what they do. That's their mode of operation. Wow. Hard trials, family.
Who are being used are the in-house slaves. They come, convince you, give you a few coins, chicken change, and they push you to go do the undoable to your own very country. And another thing he mentioned was the fact that Burkina Faso is not scared of going to war.
Listen.
He warned again all those neighboring countries who are being manipulated by these foreign or external countries to go disturb the peace of the AES, that they should know that for them in the AES, they are already at war. And right now where they are not scared of war. And if those who are being manipulated, those in-house slaves called heads of state, keep going the way they are going, we are going to find ourselves in a serious war. And it's always very nice to start, but you will not know when it will end. And in any case, he has said the AES countries are not scared of going to war. But those neighboring countries should be careful what they are about to get into.
Hope you're listening, family, because this is the reality of what this world faces, what Africa faces, what we here in the diaspora face. Hard trials are necessary to establish the truth. And we're not going to have some little easy time to get free and liberated. We will be free and we will be liberated. God has absolutely come and promised us that, but we have to fight for it.
That's right.
We have to persevere. We have to be courageous. We have to be brave. We have to be relentless. We have to be fearless. We cannot be cowardly, can't be Negroes thinking that we're going to sing our way into liberation or freedom. Is just not going to happen like that. And so, dear family, I hope that the message is clear and that you got something good from this evening. May Allah bless you as I greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. All praise is due to Allah.
Praise is due to Allah.
That saying, hard trials are necessary. It's not hard trials were necessary.
Are necessary.
Yeah, are. So
in the present tense.
That's right.
Are necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. All praise is due to Allah. And on that note, we'll do our notices. So don't forget to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. You know, as our brother Leo mentioned, we need to get away from reading these stupid newspapers written by Satan and subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, which is the only newspaper that is unbought and uncompromised. There you're going to get the truth. So, and this world, they're obviously not going to give us the truth because they have their agenda. So why not subscribe to the Final Call newspaper and get your copy straight on your laptop or your phone if you can't get the physical copy. And don't forget to listen to the Final Call radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those lectures by the minister, they're like, is it in the Holy Quran where it's like ink? What's the saying? Like the sea, it would never run out. It is so.
If all the trees were pens and all the oceans were ink, you can never ever exhaust.
That's right.
The word of God. It's just of course. It's just
every time I listen, I think, oh gosh, I've not heard that lecture before. Let's just keep feeding.
And it's beautiful because on the Final Call radio, you know, you get in bite-sized pieces. In fact, sometimes I find it a little bit frustrating just as I'm getting into it and it stops.
Then I quickly go on my phone. Where's this lecture?
Yeah, but I feel bad even at the start of the Imagination show when I'm just playing a half an hour of the minister, because man, you know, that man is just so blessed and so full with what God has given him for us.
That's right.
You know,
absolutely.
Whenever you have an opportunity, family, tune in to the minister.
And make the opportunity. Do not take this man for granted. We need to be studying and eating those words and living the life of Jesus. And Sunday's lecture, where's the title? Don't forget to tune in to noi.org every Sunday. Our brother, student minister Daniel Muhammad did the title was Human versus Beyond Human, the Ultimate Aim of Satan. That lecture was so good. He did a brilliant job. You know, you can see the brother is growing. Every time he speaks, it was absolutely brilliant. So you can rewatch that on media.noi.org. So don't forget, tonight or today is our last meal. Make it a good one. Have the beans, your bread, your raw milk, your fruit. If you've got fortunate enough to have your bean pie or a nice piece of cake, not with too much icing on it to make you crap.
Too much sugar.
Yeah, too much sugar. So yeah, don't forget it's the 3-day fast this weekend. And don't forget to celebrate our beloved brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan's birthday on
This Monday.
Yes, May the 11th. And hold on, also it was, hold on, we did take a note. Let's see, our sister. Who is it? Yes, our sister Jamila Burns. Wish your father a happy birthday, May the 10th. From
Praise be
us.
to Allah.
Yes, and anyone whose birthday is, all praises due to Allah.
Yes.
Thank Allah for blessing us. We don't really celebrate birthdays, but you thank Allah for blessing you to see another year. During this time, life is such a blessing.
Yes, it's precious.
Oh, very precious. And let's not waste our time. Time is going so quickly. Next week, then we're halfway through the month. So let's not waste time. Study the word of God. Live the word of God. Let's change our reality and do for self instead of suffering the consequences.
That's right.
We're at a dangerous, dark time, and let's have the oil in our lamps. And on that note, thank you all so much for tuning in. May Almighty God Allah continue to guide, bless, and protect us all. And take care and stay safe. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved. Take care, family. Inshallah, if Allah spares our life, we'll be back with you next week, same time, same place.